Hello everybody, I'm Tad and this is Board Games, War Games, and Miniatures. I'm excited, we're finally here, back to another playthrough video, and we're doing Cruel Necessity. Now, as some of you probably know, Cruel Necessity was originally published in 2013 by Victory Point Games, and it is designed by John Welsh. This version is reprinting through Worthington, and Worthington has changed it up a little bit. The box art is different. The actual playing surface is a little bit different designed. The cards are a little bit more modern with the printing, where you can, it's a little clearer. The old cards was more like an old English handwriting, which is interesting. I really liked, but I do like these upgraded components that we have. The mounted board is excellent. But hey, enough talk. Let's get to this. We're going to do this like I always do. We're going to start off with a setup video. We'll set up the board and all the cards and everything, and then we're going to get into it. And it's going to be several videos long in the series, and I hope you stick around for all of it. So let's go to the table down view and get this setup video started. Thank you. All right, let's get this setup video started for Cruel Necessity, the English Civil Wars of 1640 to 1653 by Worthington Games, a game by John Welsh. Let's open up the box here. All right, got our rule book, our handy dandy rule book. We'll have to keep that available for us. Here's a nice little player's aid. It's two-sided. We'll be using that quite extensively. We've got our board, and they provide you in the box with this nice organizer. It's got a little plastic top on it and some dividers. I went ahead and divided a lot of the playing pieces in little baggies. I'm going to be using 2 draw bags that I just got in the game Battles of Hegra. I'm going to be using these draw bags, so we'll set those right here for now. I've also got a little bowl here that I'll be using, and of course my handy dandy dice rolling tray. We've got 2 dice, 2 6-sided dice, 1 blue and 1 red, and we've got our cards. Of course, I put all my cards in protective card sleeves. So let's set up, where am I going to put this for now? Let's put this right here. You go over here. Let's get this board set up. It's a nice mounted board. Of course, the original Cruel Necessity game was a Victory Point game. Did not have a nice mounted board like this, but it did have a decent paper board that's very similar to this. Worthington has changed some of the layout. The player's aid is a little different as well. There used to be a battle board. They've actually put the battle board on the game board. I think the colors are great. It's beautiful, easy to read, and I can't wait to get this going. All right, let's do a setup. So we're going to start with getting our pieces out here. Like I said, I kind of went ahead and segregated them a little bit into plastic bags just to help keep the setup easier. So first off, I'm just going to go ahead and populate my bags. This is going to be my draw bag for the Royalist side, and they're all in this bag. Let's pour those out. Now these here are the cavalry. The cavalry army pieces are squares, and then the musket and pike pieces are these rectangles. So we're going to first take our cavalry units, flip them over, and mix them up a little bit. Mix wherever they stop, nobody knows. And they go up here in the Royalist Cavalry, that's easy to say, Royalist Cavalry Unit Draw Pool. So those get populated up here. Then, let me center this. I'm going to put all of these into the draw bag. Even the named units. You can see some here have names. This is the Newcastle White Coats. I actually am wearing my Newcastle soccer football jersey right now. My favorite soccer team in Europe, in England, is Newcastle. Just some information. I'm going to go ahead and put all these into this red draw bag for the Royalists. Of course, you don't need a draw bag. They do give you a nice area to put everything in here. It's just easier for me to randomize it in a draw bag. I'm going to set that right here in that area. All right, let's do the Parliament Army next. All right. Again, the square pieces are the cavalry, and the rectangle are the musket and pike. And we have, with this now, you do a little bit different with the Parliament. Any of the named units do not start the game in play. They have to come into play, enter into play through card drawing mechanism. You see some of these say event. They're fine, they go in the bag. But any with a name, this is the New Model Army, London Trained, Ironsides, Cromwell. That's another new Model Army. All right, I just need to separate these. These are going to, for the moment, be off the board. I'm just going to set them all up here. Now, as they come into play, they go right here into the parliamentary named unit holding box right here. These cavalry units, we're going to flip over and randomize a little bit, do a little shuffle up here. And they do start play on the board that we can draw from. Then I'm going to take all of the units and put them in this white draw bag. Even the ones that say event, they all go in here. All right, one at a time. And for convenience, I'm just going to set it down right. And this is the box that you can put them in. If you don't have a draw bag, that's fine. Do it however makes you comfortable. I'm gonna put this here. Here's my dice. Player's aid. All right, got my drink. What else? All right, next. I'm going to go ahead and populate this real quick because this really doesn't have a designated area. Now, these are my Deviltry tokens. You can see these here. These come into play through card play, go on the board. You can attack them on the other side. They do have benefits that you can gain by defeating these Deviltry. And they're randomized. So I'm just going to go ahead and put them in my ramekin over here. Probably should be more opaque, but I'm not going to look when I randomize those. And then we have our clubmen. Now these clubmen indicators, there's no real place to put them on the board. I'm just going to put them down here. These serve two purposes. They act as clubmen, which are rogue gangs just causing havoc that armies have to deal with. But then on the other side, there are other things like mutiny, uprising, and mutiny. 2 mutinies and 2 uprisings. But I'm just going to leave them on their clubmen side for now, and I'm going to put them right down here, kind of out of the way. All right, what are we going to do next? Next, we're going to, let's do this one. This one's easy. Let's get the easy stuff out of the way. And these are just DRMs. They're strength modifiers for the armies. You have these green ones are strength modifiers, +1 strength, +2 strength. On the opposite side, they're negative. So if you ever call, the card calls for negative strength, just flip it over. They go up here. This is a strength and DRM modifier holding box. I'm just going to try to group them together. +2s, +1s, +1. This is how I choose to put them in place. And then you have some DRM modifiers. There's a +1, +2, +1. And of course, on the opposite side, they're negatives. So we're just going to place these up here in the holding box. Wow, this is going pretty fast. Now we do have your zeal point indicator. And this is how you keep track of like the points, the energy, the zeal that you can use during your player action sequences to spend points to do actions. In the beginning of the game, it starts out right here down in the 5. This is your zeal point track. You can never have more than 9, but we start with 5, and then as you use them, you just keep track right down here. There's also an extra zeal modifier. Now, I think they made a little mistake with this. This says +1 strength, zeal +1 strength, and on the back side, it says zeal +1 strength. I believe in the victory point game, and what they probably intended was one side just says +1 strength, and the other side should say +1 DRM. But doesn't matter, you know as you're playing, you can use it as a DRM or as a strength modifier. That goes down in this box. You can actually spend a zeal to be able to use this in the game on different areas to help affect your die rolling. All right, we're almost done already, guys. Doesn't take that long. Next, let's populate. All right, let's populate the fortresses. So when you start the game, the rule book will indicate to you how to place these. And it's pretty simple. They're double-sided. One side is Parliament and the other side is Royalist. They're all double-sided. And what we're going to start off with is placing 4 fortress control markers with their Parliament side up. So those go on London. Here's London down here. And it helps you. They've got these little cutouts here, which you can see the strength of your defenses. So when you start off, they each have a little dot, I don't know if you can see them, that show you where they should start off. And they're color coded to help you set it up. So for instance, London is a blue dot on the 4 o'clock hex side, and it has 2 strength. So you just put it there like that with your cutout there. In Hull, same thing. We start out, it's a Parliament, it's blue, and it starts out at the 4 o'clock at 2. Bristol is a Parliament, starts off at the 4 o'clock position or 2 strength. Then we move up to Edinburgh. Edinburgh starts off blue, Parliament at 4 o'clock and 2 strength. Oxford, however, right in the middle of everything, starts out Royalist controlled, and it's way up on the 10 o'clock position or 4 strength. That's the highest one you can go to. When you siege or attack any of these fortresses, if you're successful, you have to beat the number on a die roll. If you're successful, you just move it down one. Move it down one. You can fortify. Fortify costs you a zeal point, and you just, it goes up 1. Unfortunately, when you fortify, you can only do 2 clicks per turn max on an individual fortress. But when you besiege it, you can attack it as many times as you want. So Oxford starts out the game Royalist control at its maximum 4, and then Dublin over here in Ireland is Royalist control at 4 o'clock or 2 on its strength. There are rules that indicate how you can siege, attack these fortresses, and of course how the Royalists can attack them. Unfortunately, Oxford cannot be attacked until we reveal card number 13 or card number 26, and that is in the card play. So we can't affect this until one of those cards gets revealed, which can really cause havoc. All right, that's placement of the fortresses. Let's move over to placing the armies. So there are several that aren't actually used when you set up the game. For instance, Ireland. Ireland has 3 different units. We begin the first Civil War with the basic Irish army, and it has a 3. When you attack it, you can lower it down to its 2. That's called disordered. But we start with the Irish army at 3, and we start it in Ireland at the highest numbered province or area. You can see they're numbered 1, Irish Troubles, 2, Ulster, 3, Leicester, 4, Munster, 5, Beyond the Pale. The Irish army starts with that unit in 5, their highest number. We don't use, these are named armies, we don't use these until later on in the other civil wars. Not sure if we will be getting to that or not. Let me put this back in the bag for now. But they can come into play later on. Also, we have the Scottish army, for instance. Basic Scottish army, but then we have named Scottish armies that don't start in play. They can come along, of course, later on in the game, depending on which Civil War you're playing, first, second, or third. So we'll put these 2 named units away. And we start with the basic Scottish army up here in the Highlands at the number 5 mark. Of course, they have number 5 is Highlands, 4 is Edinburgh, 3 is the Lowlands, 2 is the Borders, and 1 is Northumberland. So the Scottish army starts up here in the Highlands. We have the West Army here and the North Army. The West Army starts on its not disordered side. Here's its disordered, here's its not disordered side, and it starts down here in the west area in Cornwall at 5. 4 is Devon, 3 is Somerset, 2 is Sussex, 1 is Oxford. And the North Army, again, starts up here in its 5 area, which is Durham. Number 4 is Chester, number 3 is York, 2 is Stafford, and 1 is Nottingham. All right, almost done, guys. all we have left to populate now is our political tracks. And these are helpful too. You can see these whited out areas help you with your setup. And let's separate these. We don't need this or this. All right. There's Ireland. Ireland starts over here with the green area at this circle white 3. That's their political strength. We also have these Irish troubles. Now, when the army gets all the way over to here, the Irish can really start causing troubles. We'll get to that as we're playing. But this starts off down here in the Irish troubles track in the start box, which is right here. Now, it does have a +1 army strength. If Ireland ever gets down to the F, we flip it over, and the Irish army will get a +1 to its strength. So I just go ahead and put that +1 marker right here in preparation if Ireland ever gets down there, which it probably will. Also, what's next here? Let's see. Parliament. Parliament starts here at 2. Let's do Scotland. Scotland starts here at 3. And it's easy to read. Up here it says Ireland, Ireland, monarchy, Catholicism, Puritanism, Parliament, and Scotland. So Scotland starts here at 3. Scotland army also can get a boost if Scotland ever gets down here to the F slot. Again, we flip it over and Scotland will get +1 strength. So I'm going to leave it right here in preparation. Scotland's at 3. Parliament is in here. It's at number 2. And Catholicism is purple up here in 3. And monarchy starts off here at 4. Of course, these are the royalists. They're the ones against us. Well, Scotland is too, unfortunately. Really, we're just the Parliament and Puritanism. We want to move these up the tracks. All right, this area we want to move up the board. As we move up the board, we get more blue triangles. Blue triangles are positive victory points. We want to get these as high as we can, so at the end of the game, we get as many blue victory points as we can. And on this track up here, you have the red negative victory points. Again, we want to push these guys up to where there's less. See, this one only has 1, 2, 3, 4. As they go down, they can give you more negative victory points, which we do not want. We want as many positive victory points at the end of the game as we can get. Also, we want to keep everything out of the F slot. If at any time at the end of a turn, the F slot has 4, is occupied by 4, any combination, you lose the game. If at any time at the end of the turn, London is royalist controlled at the end of the turn, you lose the game. So those are the 2 main things we want to worry about to prevent the game ending prematurely before we can do everything we want to do. All right, guys, almost done. Let's go on to the cards now. Now, I separated these cards in these. Here we go. I separated the cards in these slots. The first slot here, it will be everything you need for the first Civil War. And then the second Civil War are any of these gray or silver borders. And then these yellow or gold borders are the cards for the third Civil War. So we can set that aside. We're just going to concern ourselves with this stack. This stack is divided into 2 different types of cards. We have the Cruel Necessity cards, and then our Cruel Necessity event cards, battle cards. These just shuffle up really well. I'll show you how we use those as we play the game. They go in the battle event draw pile. As you use them, they get discarded. And it's very simple to set up the First Civil War. All these cards have numbers in the upper left corner of the card. And the First Civil War are numbered 1 through 27. So if you can see here, the 1 card and the 27 card are highlighted in white. So you want to set them aside. And then all these other cards, you just shuffle. Now, the reason you shuffle it really is for replayability. You can actually put these cards in numerical order, and if you do, you can play through the cards historically as the events actually unfolded. But, I mean, you could probably do that once or twice maybe, and then you kind of know what's going to happen. So at least shuffling these up will help you if if you're interested in replayability. So you shuffle them up really good. You take card 27, which is the last card of the First Civil War. You put it face down in the draw pile. You put the rest of the cards that are shuffled right there. And then, of course, card number 1 is always going to be the card that you start off with. You can lay it up here. And before we start the game, you just read the prologue. First English Civil War, 1640 to 1644. Read the prologue, flip it over into the discard pile, and then we start playing the game. You play the cards from the top down, left to right. And we'll show you that as we start playing. I'm just going to put that right here. And that's it. That's set up. We have now completely set up. I'm just going to set that here. Put the rule book here. Everything's on the table. Everything's set up. All right, guys, let's get ready to play.